The concurrent resolution is accepted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
Mr. Speaker, a dozen or more Republicans voted with this. This was a bipartisan vote.
Well, look, I think a resolution by the House either has meaning or it doesn't have meaning. If it has meaning, then this was a blow to America's chances to win in Iraq, and it undermines the support of our troops in Iraq. Now, if it doesn't have meaning, why did they pass it? And so the people who want to have it both ways, they want to be able to offer their opinion, get a political vote for back home, but then claim they are not responsible if we lose in Iraq. I don't think they can have it both ways. If they want to vote to cut off all funds and force the president to withdraw troops, that would be a responsible vote. I would oppose it, but it would be responsible. But this technique of trying to destroy the American position by 1,000 clever little cuts, I think is very destructive and very irresponsible.
You say 1,000 little cuts. The resolution was clear in its support of the troops, and one can support the troops by making sure they have proper equipment, making sure the Humvees are equipped properly, making sure there's proper training. Why isn't this administration giving them the equipment and training they need, which by all accounts they've not done? Wouldn't that be supporting the troops?
Alan, I will bet you that virtually every publication in the Arab world portrays this vote as a defeat for the American position in Iraq. I will bet you that almost every terrorist blog site will hail this vote as a victory for the anti-American side. This is going to increase the morale of our opponents. It's going to weaken the morale of our allies. But let's not play games here. I don't care what they say about supporting the troops. They went out of their way to pass a resolution which will be seen around the world as weakening America's position in the Middle East. But let me carry a step further, Alan. Congressman Murtha has already indicated that he intends to offer further restrictions on the circumstances under which the president
Yes, proper equipment
troops.
is one of them.
I just want to point out to you, this is not what the chairman of the Joint Chiefs has requested, not what the Chief of Staff of the Army has requested, not what the Commandant of the Marine Corps has requested. This is what anti-war left-wing Democrats are imposing on the American military. It's going to make it harder for us to win. It weakens America's position. And they just ought to have the courage. If they really do want to stop the war, fine. Then bring up a vote to cut off all funding. Let's have it out in the open. But as long as we're there, let's give our troops the flexibility to have the best possible chance to win.
Mr. Speaker, let me take it a step further here. They say they support the troops. They say it. They lecture us about how much they support the troops. But let's be blunt and let's be honest here. This non-binding resolution and the plan, you know, a death by 1,000 cuts that John Murtha is proposing here, this will undermine our troops. This will guarantee defeat. We can't win this way. And this will embolden our enemies, and it'll make America and the world less safe. This, I think, is one of the saddest weeks we've had in American history. You're the historian, Mr. Speaker. Can you name a time this has ever happened while we're at war? To have
Sure. Look, the Democrats in Congress in 1975 cut off all funding to South Vietnam and guaranteed the defeat of South Vietnam by communist North Vietnam. The Democrats in 1975 promised there would be no terrible consequences if we were defeated. 2 million Cambodians were killed by Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge after the defeat in Vietnam. I think there are a number of occasions where people have offered resolutions that have significant impact. And I think we have to look at let's be honest about the motives here. Speaker Pelosi has already indicated she's going to do everything she can to make it difficult for the president to implement this campaign and to win this war. And I think that's a mistake. As I said, if she wants to bring up an amendment to cut off all funding, that's a direct, straightforward, let's have it out.
But what's going to happen here, and I agree, obviously the killing fields are a result, and I will predict here tonight, and I think you would probably concur, that this will be a humanitarian disaster. We will create a safe haven for both Iran and al-Qaeda. They'll have the financial resources of the oil in Iraq to create a staging area to plan their next attacks on the United States of America. But this stealth plan to defund the troops is what the next step is. John Murtha literally said the following, Mr. Speaker. He said they won't be able to continue talking about our troops. They won't be able to do the deployment. They won't have the equipment. This is all part of this effort here, you know, creating conditions that can never be met to have on record, to basically defund the war, but not have the responsibility on record of having defunded the war. Since 2003, anti-war Pennsylvania Congressman John Murtha has repeatedly claimed that our troops in Iraq don't have the equipment they need. But listen to what he said in an interview yesterday with the far-left website, movecongress.org, when he was asked what effect his desired congressional limits would have on the troop surge.
They won't be able to continue. They won't be able to do the deployment. They won't have the equipment. They don't have the training, and they won't be able to do the work.
They won't have the deployment. They won't have the equipment. They won't be able to continue. Mr. Speaker, look, here's where we are. This stealth plan to defund the troops and guaranteed defeat. We hear where they're coming from. This is only a first step, this non-binding resolution. The question is, what should the strategy of the Republicans be to see to it that this surrendered defeatism philosophy of the Democrats does not come to fruition?
Well, I think Republicans ought to have a lot more courage in directly taking on the liberals and in taking on, first of all, the real threat that Iran poses to us. Second, the absolute evidence that's coming out about Iranian involvement in Iraq. And third, the consequences of undermining America's will and leading to an American defeat in Iraq. The Democrats need to be held accountable for their willingness to be defeated in Iraq and need to be held accountable for explaining how they would try to manage the American position in the world once our allies see us accept defeat, once they see pro-American Iraqis slaughtered, and once they realize that maybe we'll abandon them next. And why would they trust the U.S. if the U.S. Congress walks off from its commitments?
I agree, you see, because they don't have the moral courage of their convictions to go out. Constitutionally, they have the ability to cut off funds. But they don't want to go on record doing that because they think there'll be a backlash. So the net result of this stealth effort to defund the war by putting these ridiculous standards in place is going to be that, you know, and yet it seems the Republicans have been rather inept in calling them out on what it is that they're trying to do here. We have the Iranians, Mr. Speaker. They are literally providing the deadly bombs to the Iraqi insurgents that we now know have killed 170 Americans. I don't hear any plan on how we're supposed to deal with the Iranians on that.
You know, and it's very, to me, it's very surprising to watch the American elite try to hide from this evidence of Iranian involvement. We have clear evidence of Iranian sniper rifles. We know from the serial numbers on some of the weapons that they were made within the last year in Iran. We have clear evidence of very sophisticated anti-American bombs that were made in Iran. The evidence is mounting every week. It's coming out of totally professional sources. And yet the desperation to be anti-Bush is so great that there are many people now who would rather deny the truth about Iranian threats and Iranian involvement rather than in any way find themselves agreeing with the president. I think that's a very sad comment.
You're using this